So this video is on a daytime training. So daytime training, amazing. It's opportunity for us to really kind of take hold of our nutrition and get the most out of this session. So when we talk about daytime training, anything from kind of maybe 11 a.m, 11:30 to around kind of 2-3 p.m. So if you train around midday or anything around those times, this video is for you. So first things first is what are the main common mistakes or main issues that people find with daytime training. And the most common one is to maybe you're a bit confused whether to eat once or whether to eat twice before your session. Now, there isn't a correct answer. It is about finding something that kind of works for you. But here's a couple of pointers that I want you to kind of be thinking about. So eating once is great if your session's a little bit earlier. So if your session's around 11 a.m, 11:30, even 12 o'clock, it's absolutely fine to kind of eat once. What we do encourage you to do is maybe kind of push breakfast back a little bit. So if you wake up at like 7 a.m, you don't necessarily need to eat straight away. You can kind of push that back to maybe kind of 8:30, 9 o'clock. And then what that will allow you to do is not to have that kind of gray zone where you're like, danger zone where you're like, I'm a little bit hungry, or I feel like I need the snack, but it's too close to the workout. So giving yourself that kind of 2.5, 3 hours is a really, good thing to be able to do if you just want to eat once. The other way is to eat twice. Now, you can get, I say, if you wake up early and you want to eat straight away, then you can snack again an hour or 2 hours before your workout. What we do encourage you to do is make sure that the first meal is a little bit larger. Just allow your body that time to digest that food and actually utilize it as energy in the session. So rather than be thinking, I'll just have something small and then I'll snack again, we want to be thinking about the earlier one being slightly larger, then topping up our energy stores and just like not chasing our nutrition nearer the session, just topping up close to that workout. So eat once, eat twice, completely up to you, okay? Now, this goes for fat loss and for strength. Remember the key principles of fat loss. It doesn't matter if you eat once or twice. It's about your overall daily, weekly intake. So get the most out of your session, okay? Whatever one you use, you have to be thinking what works for you to get the most intensity and get the feeling that you want to train, okay? So don't be going through your session just like getting through it, just surviving it. We want to be thriving. So play around with it. Maybe there's certain sessions, we're going to come on to that in a minute, that you might want to eat once or eat twice out, okay? Meal structure for the rest of the day. Now this is very, very important because training in the daytime can often disrupt our meal structure. So what you want to be thinking about doing is having a consistent meal structure regardless of when you train. So if you do train around 11 a.m, 11:30 or even 12 o'clock, your post-workout meal, your lunch, becomes effectively that, your post-workout meal. So then you don't have to, and it's at a usual time, like it's at 1 o'clock, 1:30. Now, when you're training at 1 o'clock or 1:30, and now you're pushing things back, that's when it becomes a little bit challenging. So what we encourage you to do is potentially eat twice, have your lunch as your post-workout meal, and then you can either have a small snack and eat dinner, or you can just have a larger main meal post-workout at like 2:30, 3 o'clock, and then eat dinner at 7 o'clock. So you're still eating that 3 meals, 1 snack, or 3 meals and 2 snacks, but you're just making, your lunches a little bit earlier, making sure that you're fueling beforehand. What I want you to be thinking about doing at this time is to have something that's consistent and follow it for at least a week, 2 weeks, because then you will identify what will work and what doesn't. If one day you do something, one day you do the next thing, and then the other day you're doing something else, it becomes very challenging to identify what works. So meal structure, get something kind of written down and planned out, and then try to follow it. Trying to just get into a regular pattern of eating. That's the key thing. Snacking comes in because we want to structure it. So that regular pattern is, I want you to structure your snacks. And whether that's before the workout, whether that's after the workout, after your lunch, whatever it is, I want you to be thinking about snacking, because when we're in the daytime training, often our meal structure can be disrupted. Structuring our snacks in, planning them in to kind of make sure that we're not going very long periods without eating, going into our sessions underfueled, or going after the workouts. And again, we have this kind of maybe not eating enough and then mindlessly snacking or constantly snacking for the rest of the day. Plan them in and maximize your recovery, maximize your performance. So pre-workout changes. Now, this is something that you can, again, play around with once you have a consistent pattern of eating. Maybe if the workout is a little bit longer, so maybe a chipper workout or something that's like a, like a long EMOM with like barbell cycling or whatever, or it's a strength-based session where you're really going to push yourself, then you might want to change to eating twice, okay? We talk a lot about fueling the fight, like don't wait till the fight is over and then thinking about refueling, because you haven't maximized the stimulus of that session. You've just kind of got through, maybe not hit your percentages, so go into the session feeling fueled. That's where I want you to be thinking about maybe pre-workout changes. So some days when it's a little bit lighter, a little bit more maybe lower intensity, more aerobic, more gymnastics focused, whatever it is, just a little bit on that lower intensity scale, maybe you only need to eat once. But if it's a session where it's a bit more performance based, a little bit more maybe more of a benchmark, that's when I want you to be thinking about changing your pre-workout and just eating a smaller snack. So eating twice. Give your body that opportunity to have the circulating nutrients, the circulating fuel to get the most out of it. So I hope that kind of, maybe puts it in context over the week. You might be like, right, okay, a couple of times I'll eat once, a couple of times I'll eat twice. See how you feel. Be aware. And hopefully that's going to help you to structure your nutrition a bit better. Now we talk about kind of post-workout, refueling all the time. Eat protein and carbohydrates post-workout. But if you've watched my video on why you feel sluggish after a rest day, you'll be noticing that sometimes you don't have to always follow this principle. So if you're the next day, you're not going to train, okay? And the session that you've just done is maybe a little bit lower intensity. You don't necessarily need to rush your post-workout meal. You can maybe lower the calorie content, the carbohydrate content, whatever it is, because you know that you've got maybe, 6-7 feeds before you're going to train again the following 2 days time. So don't worry about kind of refueling and taking advantage of that post-workout window. If you've got so many times that you're going to feed and replenish your energy levels, give yourself an adequate protein before you're going to train again. So look at what you're doing the next day. Okay, if you're going to be training the next day, then yeah, and it was a hard session, then you need to be refueling. That's a key thing. Okay, because this allows you that kind of little bit of flexibility with your nutrition, and this is where you can, kind of play around with things and not have to just constantly lower your intake on a rest day, starve on these days or whatever. You can kind of have a bit more of a balanced approach to things. So I hope this kind of gives you a bit of food for thought in terms of when to be eating around daytime training, some things, the real principles to kind of focus on, and then get after it. We want you to be thriving, not surviving. Okay, it's an opportunity to go into these sessions in midday, really get the most out of them, refuel adequately, and then structure our nutrition in a correct way to really improve our recovery. So get after it, guys. Hope this helps. And as always, let us know if you have any further questions.